Jonathan, thank you for introducing me, and I just wanted to start off by saying thank you, because I know of the personal commitment that you gave to this project. And I have to say, I, like many of us, have worked with many councillors, and I'm a politician, so we come in various hues and guises. And I have to say, in you, you have shown to us, and I hope to all of us, that you've shown integrity, commitment, and there was absolutely an openness when we needed it as a community, when we were all passionate and determined, because we were all clear what the end would be like, that you came along and that you helped deliver this Dalston C.L.R. project. So thank you very much for being able to say that, because it's not often that you get thanks for absolutely getting on with the job that you're elected to do. I'm elected to represent all of you, and if you live in Islington, I represent you there. If you live in Walthamstow, I represent you there, because I represent the 3 boroughs. And in the time that I've been on the London Assembly, one of the passions that I've had is about how we can enable our young people, how we can give them resilience, how we can link them with the richness of their past particularly, because so many young people you meet, because of circumstances around them, they've been detached from their past. And so you get so cross when you meet young people and they say to you, and they say this to me, "Miss, nobody's ever done anything significant from the Caribbean." And I go, "What do you know about the Caribbean?" And they know very little about the Caribbean. They know that Jamaica's in the Caribbean, and that's the sum total to their knowledge about the Caribbean. And then for them, you know, it starts pretty soon in life, and so they have icons that I haven't got a problem with them, but are current footballing icons. And some of them may well have a cricketer as an icon. And so I think then when you then meet some young people who have got this fascination for sport, as I did when I was growing up, then, and when they read around it, I can say to C.L.R. James's widow Selma, that they do meet your husband's absolutely wonderful book, and then that actually then leads them into an understanding about sport as a metaphor for life. And I think that's for me, one of the greatest things out of the writing of C.L.R. James' work, in terms of how you can, as a young person, explore your heritage and your identity through something that's as immediate as sport. And you know, women also like cricket as well, so that's important. And I also wanted to just say, I was talking and reminiscing, and Jonathan heard me, like, I was a child of the Windrush generation, and at about 5 I used to be, I think my mother would have been had up if social services known about it. I used to be transported all around the country. If anybody wanted a flower girl, there was only about a handful of us as young black children, and so people would come and get me, take me off, and I'd do a couple of weddings a day, and then they'd send me back. But the richness of that was everybody was my uncle and my auntie, and also I was able to grow up with this rich conversation around me about the Camden progressive, the men who were talking about Pan-Africanism, about the writers and the people who were struggling to get their work published, and about, you know, that sort of community that there was located, whether it was in Brixton, whether it was here in Dalston, whether it was in Birmingham or Manchester. It was quite specific, but it seemed to me that those communities shrunk England because their relationship was constant. And as a child, I was fortunate enough to grow up within that. Last year, I was fortunate enough that the women of the Women's Collective that came out of Dalston, that came out of Brixton, opened up the London Metropolitan Museum for a weekend. It was their 50th anniversary, and the richness of black history about, if you like, past 50 years and longer in this country, much of it is there. I would ask that we all work together to ensure that we can recreate such a collection here around the iconic collection of C.L.R. James. I think tonight, you know, we've got enough people here that we can keep this going constantly. So it's more than, as wonderful as the lecture's going to be, as wonderful as the exhibition is, you know, that we have something going on all the time. Again, there's so many fabulous people in here. I just want to acknowledge Margaret Busby. Here's a lady who's in there, in amongst the crowd, but she's a real sort of heroine to many of us, and certainly some of our parents who, when they were looking for books to keep us inspired and informed about our heritage, it was her publishing company that was there publishing, and thank you, we should give her. And I'll just finish by one request to whoever, and I'm looking to the Chief Librarian, let's have it in a conversation. Let's start in conversation with these wonderful people who we have here in Hackney amongst us, and I would put in a bid for the first one being in conversation with Margaret Busby, because that woman, you know, she published Sam Selwyn, she published C.L.R. Jones, she published all of our great writers, and it would be great just to hear her reminisce about these wonderful people that she had dealings with. So thank you all for coming. It's a start, not a start, but it's a continuation. But you've got loads of people here who want it to be constant, not just one-off, but let's make this place a constant place and somewhere where we can, as mature and adult people, pass on something to our young people who need the link with their heritage so that they can be sure about their own identity, to give them strength and resilience for the challenges they face. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jeanette. I'd now like to introduce Ngoma Bishop.
Thank you all. You can clap if you want, but you don't have to. Okay, thank you all. I'm going to attempt to do a couple of things there which I'm not used to doing, and one of them is I'm going to attempt to keep my contribution to within 5 minutes as I've been listening. The other thing I'm going to do, which I'm not used to doing, is I'm going to read from prepared notes. That's something I almost never do, but partly in order to make sure I keep my contribution within the time scale, and also to make sure that I don't forget things that I cannot afford to forget. Please bear with me if I do so. Yeah. One thing I must do, two things I must do quickly before I start to do that. One, I must make a disclaimer, because what I find is that people have a tendency, with myself or BEMA or whatever, people either have a tendency to forget to ascribe to us things that we're responsible for, or else they attempt to ascribe to us things that we're not responsible for. And I have to say that I played a very, very small part in the creation of the exhibition. Others have done a tremendous amount, and I done but a small part. So I don't really want people getting carried away with the thing, with the fact that I've done everything, any more than I wanted to get carried away with the notion that BEMA did nothing. Right? We have to keep things in perspective. The second thing I want to do is I want to make a commitment on behalf of BEMA right now, even though I haven't spoken to my colleagues. And the excellent suggestion that there is a series of events beginning with a contribution by Margaret Busby, I think that's wonderful, and I think if I can publicly make that commitment, say now, right now, BEMA's on the case, and that will happen, okay?
Thank you.
Right. Okay, now as I've said, time doesn't really allow me to say too much about C.L.R. James's philosophies and teachings. Besides, there are others much more qualified to do so than me. What I will say, however, that C.L.R.'s lifelong commitment to the pursuit of equality and his passion for literature and other areas of the arts is very much in keeping with the ethos of BEMA, the Arts in Harmony Network. So, of course, it was with a sense of outrage, which I'm sure C.L.R. James would have approved, that we reacted to the proposal to call this new facility Dalston Library, or Dalston Library near Dalston Overhead Junction, or whatever. Right? In fact, it seemed that there was a will to call it anything at all that didn't mention the name of C.L.R. James. For it seemed to us at the time, although we've since changed our perception, that whilst there are some to whom a name bears no significance, there are also those to whom the name C.L.R. James is so significant that it had to be jettisoned at all cost, even though to do so would have been a betrayal to the local community, black and otherwise. Our position on this was unequivocal and clear. The name has to be retained, we said. For were it to be otherwise, it would be a retrograde step at best, and a statement of intentional disrespect at worst, a fact we would try to make the world aware of if that was the case. Fortunately, things took a different direction. Well, we were not at first taken seriously by the powers that be, because with a profound sense of arrogance, some simply pretended that we did not exist. Others implied that we didn't have a representative voice. However, the establishment of an online petition that soon attracted over 3,000 signatories, outrage from the good people of Dalston and much further afield, and the fact that a number of Hackney councillors found it impossible to ally themselves to such a Philistine act rather changed the dynamics. The good sense and political leadership showed by Haggerston councillor and cabinet member for health, social care and culture in Hackney, Jonathan McShane. Please give it up for him, because it's not often that we get a councillor with integrity, right? So if we are going to make the point when councillors betray us, I think it's only fair that we recognise and acknowledge when we have a councillor that's prepared to act with some integrity, and the man has done so. If it wasn't the case, I would say so. You know me, right? Also, the Hackney Library staff and other LBH officers who played a major part in bringing us to where we are today, to a point where we can look forward to a positive partnership with Hackney Council, made possible through the success of our campaign. In conclusion, I would pay tribute to the BEMA volunteers and directors, in particular to Andrea Nisio over there, please. Lloyd French, where you are, Lloyd? Lloyd's there somewhere. Dennis Winter, who's not here. Dennis Bartholomew. Well, some of you will know Dennis from all kinds of things which I'm not going to go into. It's not relevant at this point, or they're going to become relevant. But he's one of the greats. Leslie Ernian, and our esteemed honorary patrons, Diane Abbott, the member of Hackney South and Shoreditch, the Reverend Rose Hudson Wilkin, chaplain to the Speaker of the House of Commons, and the actress Judith Jacob. Also to Selma James. Where are you, Selma? All right. To Margaret Busby, of whom much has already been said, and to contributors too numerous to mention. To Hackney Unites and the Hackney Gazette for their unwavering support of the campaign. And to Hackney CVS for not evicting us when we were too busy campaigning to remember to pay our rent. And last but not least, to all of you and to the other friends of BEMA and of C.L.R. James not able to share this moment with us today. I hope that you enjoyed the evening, and I look forward to the expansion of the exhibition and to your future participation. Also to people like Buzz Johnson, where's my brethren Buzz? Put up your hand, please. Right, since we're talking about publishing, people have made great contributions. So please, enjoy the evening, and as I say, I look forward to the expansion of the exhibition and to your further participation in events of the C.L.R. James, whether it be organised by BEMA, the local authority and its partners and friends. I thank you all on behalf of the Black Ethnic Minority Network.
Thank you very much, Ngoma, both for all your hard work in the campaign and subsequently for your very kind words about me. I really appreciate them.
So what I'm sure I wouldn't say, Jonathan.
I know that too. I'd now like to introduce Selma Jane.